Hey guys, it's Steven Freeborn here, and I thought it would be really interesting to do some sessions where I just kind of talk about some stuff that's random, somewhat related, kind of related, off topic, on topic, current events type of opinion pieces, I guess, from my viewpoint. I'm kind of always listening, always learning, always reading, always kind of looking into things, and I've got lots of different interests and hobbies and things that I'm always doing, and I thought, hey, why don't I take some notes during the day, jot a few things down each day, and then at the end of each day kind of film record and film just kind of a thoughts on piece. So this is kind of the first in that series of experiments. I've got some cold brew coffee. I've got my list of items to talk about, and let's go from there. So the first thing I want to talk about is a book that I really just finished today, actually, listening to. I partly read, partly listen to my book. So I usually have one or two audible books that I'm listening to throughout any given week, and then I have lots of electronic and paperback books that I read intermittently. That, sitting down to read a book is a little bit harder to find the time to do that. A lot of times it's easier just to have your earbuds in. You can be doing something else, but also consuming, learning, improving. So the book that I just finished listening to was called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. John Doerr is like a super famous executive and investor in Silicon Valley, and especially in the kind of tech industry. Particularly what this book talks about is it talks about two systems. It talks about a system called OKRs and a system of continuous performance management. And I'll just kind of briefly explain what those are. OKR stands for objectives and key results, which is basically just a system that a lot of companies have used and was originally popularized, as I have come to learn, by a man named Andy Grove in the early days of Intel, and has since been implemented at a lot of different companies, probably most recognizable as Google. The system is basically a way of getting an organization, a group of people, to identify what vital few things are really important, and then assign measurables to those important things to really make sure that you're driving progress on that objective. So you have your objectives, which would be, in common tongue, that would be your goals. And then your key results are like the metrics that you're gonna track. And if those metrics go in the right direction, that'll drive accomplishing your goal or accomplishing your objective. I thought it was really, really interesting because at this point in my life, one of the things I'm really fascinated about, I think particularly because I'm working a daily corporate kind of role, is prioritization, understanding that you can't do everything, that you are constrained by resources, and you have to pick and choose what projects you are and aren't going to do. And OKRs help you do that. So I think the big takeaway is you need to have a lot of clarity around your goals. You need to define your goals really, really well. And then you also need to take time to understand what metrics are really important to driving that goal or driving that objective, and then become super disciplined about measuring and tracking those metrics and using the outcomes of those metrics to decide whether or not you can accomplish your objective, or if you need to take steps to adjust your plan to accomplish your objective. The other piece that he talked about is probably even more important, or more interesting, not more important, but more interesting, particularly if you're an employee or if somebody you want to be a leader or manage people, is this idea of continuous performance management, which basically is this concept that you shouldn't be reviewing people's progress on an annual basis. You shouldn't be allowing such lag time between somebody doing something and them receiving feedback. Continuous performance management is about constantly having regularly scheduled check-ins with people who you're in charge of or people in your organization to let them know how you think they're doing on their objectives or their goals, whether they be personal or professional, what things you like that they are doing, what things you don't like that they are doing, and how you think they can improve or recalibrate to get back on course, which makes a lot of sense. We know that learning happens when there's feedback, and the more immediate that feedback is after the action, the more effective that learning is, the more memorable, the more impactful the learning is. So yeah, it makes sense. With everything I know about psychology, the idea of annual feedbacks for your employees is really dumb. Continuous performance management is going to be a much better system, and he illustrates it awesome in that book. So yeah, big takeaways. Important to be clear about your goals. Important to be disciplined and clear about what metrics you're tracking to drive those goals. Make sure that the people that you're leading, you're giving frequent and continuous feedback to. Check it out. It's called Measure What Matters by John Doerr. You can get it on Audible, or you can get the Kindle version or the paperback or hardback, however you like to read. The second thing I want to talk about is, and I also know these videos are going to be, these sessions, these videos, these recordings are going to be long, and I'm going to try to kind of figure out what the right length is, but we're just going to kind of let it go for this first one. The other thing I want to talk about, the second thing I want to talk about, is this podcast I've really been into. It's called The Daily, and I'm sure a lot of other people are into it because it's a super popular podcast on the iTunes app on your iPhone. But it's published by the New York Times. It's a daily podcast, Monday through Friday. They have it, I mean, it's crazy. Like, a lot goes into this. Is the most super simple setup for recording a video and publishing on YouTube, and recording a podcast and publishing it on Anchor or SoundCloud. The stuff that these guys are doing on The Daily is real high production value, and they turn it out every day, and it's usually posted by like 6 or 7 o'clock Central Time for me, and it's great to listen to on the way to work, or during work, or on the way home from work. But it basically just kind of, it starts with a more of an in-depth look of a particular topic, and then the last few minutes of the podcast are kind of a roundup of things that are happening, current events, things you need to be aware of. I think a lot of people would consider the New York Times to be more of a left-wing publication, and I would actually consider myself more towards the right end of the political spectrum. So if you're worried about listening to it because you think that your political views won't be represented, or you'll be you'll be contradicted a lot by listening to it, don't worry about that. They do a really good job, I think, at presenting the story for what it is. Of course, there's always going to be a little bit of spin from the personalities that are involved in the production of it, but you're a smart person. You can see through that, and you can think for yourself. I just think it's a really great podcast. Couldn't recommend it enough. I love podcasts, and that's kind of the most recent one that I've really enjoyed. Okay, the next two topics we're going to talk about are just basically my personal kind of geek out sessions. So if you're into it, great. If you're not, just, thanks for watching. You can hop off now. The third topic I want to talk about is my favorite way to make coffee right now. I have tried coffee in like every way, shape, and form I think it can be made. And my favorite way to make it right now is with this machine called the Clever Dripper. I bought this at Onyx Coffee Store in Bentonville or Fayetteville, Arkansas, when my brother and one of my good friends took me on like what they called my bachelor party, but it was really just like a getaway for the morning. Went and had coffee and ate burritos. But I found this device at that coffee store. You can Google it, look it up on Amazon. It's super inexpensive, but it basically combines the best of two worlds: the best of pour over, and then the best of a French press. So you get, with this Clever Dripper, you get total immersion. So you get total coffee and water immersion mixture, direct contact, which gives you this really full-bodied cup of coffee that's really rich and bold and awesome. But then the Clever Dripper also gives you the best of a pour over. So it has this little device where, actually, hold on, let me go get it. Okay, so this is the Clever Dripper. So I actually just got done using this, so it's dirty, but you put a filter in the top here, you put your coffee grounds in there, you fill it with water, and then you let it sit, just like the French press. So that's that total immersion piece of it. And then, I know part of you guys are going to be watching, part of you are going to be listening, but for those listening that can't see this, it's basically like a coned shaped plastic device where you put a paper filter in there, and then you put your grounds in there, you pour your coffee in there, you let it sit. At the bottom of this cone shaped plastic piece, you'll see there's like this circular, I don't even know what you call it, just this kind of circular cupped concave shape. And when you put that base onto like a cup, a coffee mug, it pushes up a little plastic piece and lets liquid drain out into whatever's below it. So that's where you get this benefit of this real rich, full-bodied French press type coffee, but a really clean, crisp cup without a ton of sediment in it, because you get this pour-over action too. It's my favorite way to make coffee. I highly recommend it. If you haven't tried it like this, buy this device, bring it with you, get it to your house, brew yourself some coffee with it. It's fantastic. You get it's just this perfect marriage of bold flavors with clean, crisp texture and body. It's great. So that's my favorite way to make coffee. Give it a try. Enough about the Clever Dripper. Just go to Amazon, get yourself one. Last thing I want to talk about in this first thoughts on session, I don't know really what I'm going to call it, but is my favorite way to structure a workout. So basically, like my life right now kind of revolves around two things: fitness and family. Fitness being both personally and professionally as a coach, and then obviously family with all the kids I got going on and wife, which is great. So my favorite way to structure a workout, a lot of people do workouts in different forms, strength training, then cardio. Do you warm up at the beginning of your workout? Do you stretch? This is my favorite personal way to structure a workout. This is also the way I structure a workout for clients. So the best way to start a workout is with a dynamic warm-up. That means you're taking each of your joints through a full range of motion, and then as your warm-up goes from the beginning to the end, it gets general, more specific. So the beginning of your warm-up could be, side lunge, reverse lunge. It could be, some kind of adductor mobilization, a hamstring stretch, or hamstring mobilization. Lots of different things. There's all kinds of different things. The important thing is that it's general, it's total body, it's dynamic, it takes your joints through the full range of motion. Then, right before you start doing the next piece of your workout, you get into more of a specific warm-up for what you're going to be doing for that day. If it's running, obviously it's going to be warm-ups that are predicated on running. If it's Olympic lifting, it's going to be warm-ups with lighter weights of your main lifts for that day. Makes sense. General to specific. Total body movements, total range of motion in your joints. The next portion of the workout is going to be strength training or power training, meaning that if you're someone who's like an athlete who's training for speed and explosiveness and power, that's where you're going to put that piece of your workout in. Then after you do your power development, you're going to do your strength training. That's more of maximal force production, where you're really trying to move lots of weight. Then after your strength training, you're going to put more of the higher rep resistance training. This is kind of that pump work. Think like classic bodybuilder type stuff. After you finish that piece of your strength training, you're going to go into your cardio, your endurance training, your metabolic conditioning, whatever your term is for it, but that's where you're going to work on your conditioning. Right after you're done with your conditioning, that's when you're going to go into cool down, recovery, stretching. The idea here is to get from your sympathetic nervous system more into your parasympathetic nervous system. Hold on, let me make sure I'm getting those right, because I always get them backwards. Yeah, so you're going to get out of your sympathetic nervous system, and you're going to get into your parasympathetic nervous system. So you're going to get more into that rest and digest mode and out of that flight or flight mode. And that's my favorite way. That's the way a great workout can flow. Dynamic warm-up, power training, strength training, higher rep resistance training, classic bodybuilder stuff, conditioning, and then cool down or stretching, breathing, stuff like that. Then you just basically decide, okay, I may not have all those segments of the workout, so some of those segments are going to apply to you. If they don't, you're going to slice them out, but the order is still going to be the same. And I believe that's all I have to really talk about today. I don't know if you guys like this or find it interesting, but I kind of enjoy it. It's a great way for me to document some of my thoughts on things, what I'm interested in, what's going on in my life, my opinions on things, and then share it with other people that may find it interesting and helpful. It's pretty late though right now. It's 11:14. I'm going to finish this cold brew, go inside, edit some of this video, call it an evening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, share with a friend, like, subscribe. Find me on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all those places. Let me know what you guys thought. Leave a comment, send me a DM, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.